Thank you, Peretz. Okay, good year. Sorry for the delay. Okay, last week I forgot to hit record, or maybe I didn't forget, it didn't go. So I apologize about that. I just don't remember exactly what we covered, so I'd like to just review it. Hold on one second, please. I'm just trying. Okay, so I don't want to get stuck on what we discussed last week. There's a lot to discuss. I'd like to put in a little Hanukkah, but okay, I'll try my best. Before we start again, we're learning Lila Nishmas, Yehuda Shimon Zechron L'Bracha ben Yeshua Yosef Moshe, and Aryalev Zechron L'Bracha ben Yeshua Adam Zalman. The neshama should have an aliyah, and the learning should be a schus for their neshamas and for Klal Yisrael. Again, any questions should be posted in the chat, and I hope to get to them. Or any suggestions of something that I should say that I didn't speak about. And hopefully, again, we'll try and go around 40 minutes, 45 minutes. But please don't be bashful to post any question on the chat button over here to ask whatever you'd like. So last week, we discussed the wet and dry clothing before Shabbos. So we said basically it doesn't really apply because wet clothing has to be really wet, that it wouldn't make your hand wet enough to touch something else. So basically, let's say this jacket had to be wet enough that if my hand would touch it and then I would touch something else, that would make that thing wet, which in most cases, from what I understand, most washing machine loads don't have that. So if that's the case, you put it into the dryer before Shabbos, then you'd be able to open the dryer door as long as the light doesn't turn on Shabbos and use it. Or if you hang it up from before Shabbos, you'd be able to use it. We said that a dryer that makes a lot of noise and it's around people should not be on Shabbos. But if it's like in the basement where nobody's going to hear it, then it's okay. We also said that a cleaning lady going into Shabbos is okay. Just make sure you pay her before Shabbos, or at least put away the money and show her before Shabbos where it is. You cannot show her where the money is on Shabbos. And she can do regular malacha straight out. You're allowed to ask her to do regular malacha up until about a half hour after Shkia, until a half hour after sunset. And that's real malacha, anything, mopping and turning on hot water, sewing, whatever it is that you need, you could ask her straight out up until about a half hour after Shkia. We also, I think, discussed davening mincha after lighting candles. So davening mincha after lighting candles, yes, somebody just posted, it's only for things for Shabbos, correct. You can only ask the guy to do things for you up to the half hour. If it's a tzarech Shabbos or a tzarech mitzvah. If it's like for something that you need Matzah Shabbos or Sunday, then you're not allowed to ask her to do that. Yes, thank you. Davening mincha. So davening mincha, you're really supposed to daven mincha before lighting candles. If you didn't, then you have two options. Either when you light candles, you can light candles on a condition that you're not accepting Shabbos with the candles, and then you can daven mincha, or you can daven two ma'ariv. The eitzah is that many people are not familiar, but you can daven mincha nowadays around 12 in the afternoon. So if there's a quiet moment on a Friday, which I know is not too common, if you're always davening, if you're one that wants to be makon davening mincha, so then what you can do is daven mincha 12:15, 12:20. Whatever, when you get a few minutes, and then you don't have that added stress of the mincha later. But that's not so simple. So not so easy to do. So again, if you can daven, if you can make a t'nai, then make a t'nai. If you're not comfortable making a t'nai, then you'll daven two ma'ariv. Fine. Okay, I think that's basically I think there was more that we discussed. So thank you. We also we did a Hilchos Challah, but that only came up in a parenthetical thing. But maybe we'll discuss. There is a mitzvah to make challah on an Erev Shabbos, and the main mitzvah is to make sure that there's a peaceful house on Friday afternoon, so that everybody goes in. The bottom line is the woman / mother, the house, the way the woman goes is the way the house goes. So if the mother, wife is calm going into Shabbos, usually everybody else is calm. They follow the lead. Same thing with Hanukkah. So Hanukkah with lighting the candles, it could be into a rush, etc., etc. The woman takes the lead. So that's probably the most important thing, even if it means making less food for Shabbos, etc., etc. Okay, so now tonight we'll try and mix in a little bit of Hanukkah because Hanukkah comes up with the subjects that we want to discuss with Shabbos. So it also comes up with Hanukkah. If anybody wants a full Hanukkah shir, we had a full Hanukkah shir as mostly it pertains to women last year. It is on the website, tystein.com, under, I'm not sure, I think under videos, I don't know. It's there from last year. I think it says there, Hilchos Hanukkah. So if you wanted that, you have that option. But we'll discuss it as Hanukkah that pertains to women. And if you want me to discuss something that I didn't mention, so please just post it. So now, something that comes up a lot for women on Erev Shabbos is, what are you allowed to drink after you light the candles? So this is a little bit confusing, not because it's difficult to understand, but it's just confusing because is it Shabbos, is it not Shabbos? Now, we light candles 18 minutes before Shkia, right? That's the minig in Eretz Yisrael. They light in Yerushalayim, they light 40 minutes before Shkia, but we like to light the candles 18 minutes before Shkia. If you can't make the 18 minutes, so okay, whatever, you try as best you can. Now, once a woman lights candles, Shabbos is accepted. Once Shabbos is accepted, then you're no longer allowed to drink or eat anything until you make Kiddush, right? Now, that's interesting. It's an interesting din, because basically what comes out, where this din comes from, is when you have a mitzvah to do something at night or in the morning, you have a mitzvah to do, you're really not supposed to eat or drink or do anything before you do the mitzvah, right? So really, every night one should have this issue, which is that if you didn't daven ma'ariv yet, so you should not be able to drink or eat anything because you have a mitzvah to daven ma'ariv. Now again, women have it pretty much not accepted on themselves to daven ma'ariv. But let's say from a man's perspective, really one is not allowed to eat supper before they daven ma'ariv, right? Because you have a mitzvah to daven ma'ariv. We're afraid if you're going to eat supper, then you may forget to daven ma'ariv because you can fall asleep, right? As men are wont to do after they eat, right? They fall asleep. It's common for men to fall asleep at the Shabbos table, right? But that's a compliment to the food. So they can do that every night too. So that's why really they're not supposed to. So on Hanukkah, this applies. When you are supposed to light the Hanukkah candles, really there should be you're not allowed to eat a meal before you light the Hanukkah candles. Snacking we do allow, because nobody's afraid that if you're going to snack, you're going to forget. If you ate a big meal, then you're going to forget. So this applies to women too, even though most women don't light the menorah. Those that live alone do have to light the menorah, but even those that are not lighting menorah or girls that are not coming home because they're not lighting menorah anyways, they're in college, etc., etc. So then they also, according to most places, because they have a mitzvah to light the menorah, also cannot eat a meal before they light, or somebody lights for them, the menorah, right? So you got to be careful with that. And it's a problem because, we have 2 Sundays for Hanukkah. So people may have Hanukkah parties tomorrow or next Sunday, and the parties are in Brooklyn or in Lakewood or far away, and you're not going to get back till 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, you cannot light the menorah at a Hanukkah party. That's not your house, right? That's not your house, so you cannot light there. You have to light at home. So what you do is you go to the Hanukkah party, you light later. Why you're allowed to light later, that's not for now. We'll get that'll take too long. But the bottom line is nowadays we can be lenient that you can light later. However, how are you going to eat by the Hanukkah party? So what you do is you appoint a shomer that already lit menorah someplace else, meaning it can't be a shomer. Your family members can't be a shomer unless they already lit, right? So you basically have to appoint a shomer to remind you that to light the menorah. So you tell them basically, just give me a call at 9 o'clock tonight or 10 o'clock tonight to remind me to light the menorah, and then you could eat a regular supper and whatever you want. But that's not lechatchila, but if necessary, that's what you do. If you don't have a friend to do that, or you don't trust a friend, or all your friends also didn't light, so then basically what you can do, the place can say, is you can set an alarm on your phone to remind you. And I would say set multiple alarms so that will remind you, and then you're allowed to eat. Okay, so that's a halacha that has to do with Hanukkah. So, but snacking is allowed and drinking is allowed and all that. Okay, so Friday night's the same deal, the same din, right? Friday night, why can't you eat after you light candles? Because you have a mitzvah to make kiddush. Kiddush is Friday night is a mitzvah d'oraisa. It's a mitzvah from the Torah to make kiddush. So you're not allowed to eat before making kiddush. So the question is, but Hanukkah, we said you're allowed to snack and you're allowed to take drinks. You're just not allowed to eat a meal. So why don't we say the same thing by Kiddush Friday night? So the answer to that is we want to differentiate Shabbos from weekday. So basically what we want to do is we want to make it that you cannot start your once it turns night, Shkia, so now Shabbos is here. We want to be able to differentiate Shabbos from the weekday. So therefore we say until you make Kiddush, which Kiddush means to make the day holy, right? Shabbos is holier than the rest of the week. So you have to make it holy. How do you make it holy? So by using, you can either do it during davening in Ma'ariv of Friday night, where it says, Ata Kidashta, or you're making it holy, or you make it through Kiddush. And the Chachamim Masakin, and even if you daven Ma'ariv, you have to make another Kiddush on wine, right? So therefore we say that you can do nothing eating-wise until you Makadosh the Yom. So that's why on Friday night, we don't even allow snacking. Okay? So no snacking, no drinking, nothing until you make Kiddush. Okay, now, also somebody posted, if you come home late from work and the rest of your family is already lit at home, well, I don't know what scenario you're talking about. If your family lit at home, then you're really yotze. I'm assuming, I don't know if you're a woman who's lighting your own menorah, or if you're just being yotze with the family members, then husband, or if you're a single girl with a father, then you're yotze. You can eat right away, because even wherever you are, you're yotze. You don't have to be there. It's nice to be there to hear the brachas, but if you're not there, you're yotze. So therefore, you can't eat anything, right? Now, a little water, if you need to take medicine, somebody has a headache, which is very common on a Friday night, so then you're allowed to take a little bit of water that's not called eating or drinking. You could take a little bit of water in order to swallow the medicine, okay? Now, but there's two phases to this din. There's after candle lighting until Shkia, which, like we said, is about 18 minutes. And then there's from Shkia, meaning after candle lighting, Shabbos didn't really start yet. Shabbos is really starting at Shkia. So from after candlelighting to Shkia is going to be a little bit more lenient than Shkia, right? Even though you already accepted on yourself Shabbos when you lit the candles, but it's still more lenient. So the Paiskim say if you don't feel well, if you really legitimately don't feel well, and you need to take a drink, you're feeling faint, you're feeling weak, etc., then you are allowed to take a drink, but only till sunset, according to most. After that, to take a drink after sunset, after Shkia, that's already very difficult in halacha in order to take a drink. So that you should really try not to. But from after candlelighting till Shkia and you're weak, then you could take it. All right. So that again, that's the basic din. But the thing is like this: if you're going to really need to take a drink, and it's after Shkia, and the husband's coming home late, then the best thing to do is make your own kiddush. I know women do not like to make their own kiddush. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a woman making kiddush herself. So if you really need, you make kiddush. Now, the only problem is, many people don't realize this, you can't just make kiddush on a cup of wine. You need to have what we call kiddush b'makam suda. Kiddush needs to be done with a suda together, which is why at a kiddush, there's always cake. Meaning most people doing this kiddushim or during the day, you always need cake because that's called a suda. You don't need to wash for bread, but you need to have kiddush b'makam suda. So therefore, if you're going to make kiddush Friday night, so then you have to have a kazayas worth of cake, which is, whatever, an olive's worth, a little. It's got to be a little bit more than an olive's worth. A regular slice of cake would be fine. There are opinions that say that kiddush makam suda could be if you have a double, meaning the amount of time, a double revius, meaning the amount of drink that you have to have in order to be yotze kiddush is the majority of 3.3 ounces. So that'll be around 1.5 ounces. If you double that, that's considered suda. So if you're going to make yourself kiddush on grape juice, I imagine most women don't like wines, but if you're going to make yourself kiddush on grape juice, so then make sure to drink at least 3.5 ounces, and then you're going to be okay. And then you could have coffee, you could have whatever you want. Right? But again, that's an option. I think most women are not comfortable with that option, but you do have that option. You don't have to sing Shalom Aleichem before, and you don't have to sing Eshes Chayil, and you don't have to do anything like that. You just take out a bencher and you say the whole kiddush, and then you could drink and eat, and then you have no problem. That's again, but most don't like to do that. So, but again, let's just review to make it clear. If you know that you're going to drink, but you want to light candles on time, so then you can light the candles, like we said before. You can light the candles and make a t'nai, make a condition that you're not accepting Shabbos. Then you could daven mincha. You can even do malacha, and then you could also drink and eat up until Shkia. That's one option. The other option is up until Shkia. If you're really weak, then you could take drinks, no problem. Any type of drink is okay until Shkia. After Shkia, there are opinions that hold that you could take a drink, but it's a minority opinion. So if you need to rely on that, then you're okay. If not, then make your own kiddush would be the best way to do it. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to do that. There's actually an interesting din that you're really supposed to make kiddush as soon as you can when on Friday night. It's interesting because I just started giving a shir on Friday nights after Ma'ariv, because Friday night's so early. So I'm not so sure it's the proper thing to do, because you end up pushing off the kiddush. Like we said before, the reason why we're making kiddush is we're making the day holy. So even though you daven Ma'ariv, but there's a mitzvah to make the kiddush on wine. So you make the kiddush on wine, you want to do it ASAP. But bottom line is a lot of people end up schmoozing after shul. So we decided we're going to make a little chabura for 5-10 minutes to learn as opposed to the schmoozing. But really, really the men should go home as soon as they can in order to make kiddush. Or if it's a woman alone, then she should try and make kiddush as early as she can. If you're going to make the kiddush, though, it needs to be b'makom seuda, right? Which means, again, either you have a cake. It doesn't have to be cake. It could be any. It could be washing too, but it can be any mazonos. But you just have to make sure you have enough that it's a kizayas worth. Yeah. So that's basically that. Let's say you're not getting kiddush, and then what do you do? I know this is not a common scenario. Sometimes the people are in the hospital, it comes up. You just don't have kiddush. So then what do you do? So if you know you're not getting kiddush, then you should really daven ma'ariv. Somebody in the hospital may not have the strength to daven ma'ariv. The best thing would be to daven ma'ariv, because within Shemona Esrei is a kiddush. And then whatever you eat, then that's fine. That's fine. But that's only if you know that you're not going to be getting something. If you know you're going to be getting, then you really do have to wait. Again, if somebody's in the hospital, then probably don't have to make kiddush at all, because they're probably potter because they're not well. So that's basically that. So somebody's asking that what's the point of making it tonight if you're not accepting Shabbos? Because the default is when you light candles, you're accepting Shabbos. So you want to yes, you can push off the lighting the candles till later, but many women are makbid almost as a neder to light candles 18 minutes before Shabbos. So if those that do that and don't want to stop that minig, which is a good minig to keep, then they'll light the candles with tonight. Yeah. Okay. So if somebody, if somebody here's kiddush and a big shul kiddush, you won't get from the kiddush. This is another din that's important for people to know. It's more important. It more pertains to women. You do not have to drink from kiddush. The halacha is very clear. You do not have to drink from kiddush. Not Friday night, not Shabbos day. If you really don't like wine, then just don't drink the kiddush. Is it better to drink the kiddush? 100%. It's better. It's not required. So if you're at a shul kiddush and you hear the men make kiddush, or you hear whoever making kiddush, then you just have to have su'uda. So then just go have a piece of cake or crackers or something like that. You can't have shahakal. I mean, you could have shahakal, but it should be after the suda. You're not yoitze your kiddush until you have suda. This is a problem. A lot of women don't realize this. They hear kiddush and then they're schmoozing with their friend, and then 10, 15 minutes later, they have a piece of cake. It's not simple that, excuse me, it's not simple that you're even yoitze your suda. Can you talk before eating suda? It's debatable. It's really debatable. So you should really not talk until you make sure you eat your suda. Again, the suda doesn't have to be that much food, but you gotta have food. Otherwise, the kiddush is no good. We'll discuss that Be'ez Hashem when we get to day kiddush, because most people are the kiddush, the Makam Suda issue is usually a daytime kiddush issue, not a nighttime kiddush issue. Yes, if you're makbid to light 18 minutes and you struggle to, that means you're not really makbid. So if you're not really makbid, then it's okay. That's okay. You don't want to make any shalom bias issues with that. So okay, so on that note, just getting back to the Hanukkah. So do women need to light the menorah? Yes, women do need. Women are just as chayiv as men to light the menorah. It became a custom that women don't light the menorah. Those that are married don't light the menorah. Those that are not married do have to light a menorah. And the reason is, even though it's a time-related mitzvah, and the reason for that is because the women were. It's actually interesting. There's two opinions. One opinion is that the women. It says afhein hoyevas and women were also part of the nes. So one opinion is that they were part of the nes because they were also the Greeks wanted to also make the women into goyim. Right? They wanted to make them Greeks, so they were part of it. The other opinion is that women were part of the nes, right? If not for Yehudis, right, chopping off the head of the general, so then, and showing that bringing that head to Yerushalayim, then the nace might not have happened. So it doesn't, they were the nace. It's an interesting thing that the Tosfos asks on the opinion that says that they were part of the nace. He asks, what do you mean they were part? They were the nace, according to that opinion, meaning without the women, the whole story wouldn't have happened. Certainly by Purim, that's the case. Right, so that's just an interesting thing. But either way, because of that, so women are required to light the menorah. It became a minhag not to. It's not really clear why, like single girls, some till bas mitzvah, it seems like many girls light. After bas mitzvah, it seems like it became the minhag not to. If a girl really wants to light the menorah, there's no problem. There's no problem with a girl lighting the menorah. She should just really have in mind that she's not being yotze with whichever man is lighting in the house. If a married woman wants to light the menorah, she could really light the menorah also. It's not a problem. They're just as required as men. It seems like the minhag became that they don't, but it just seems like a lot of these things. Same thing with kiddush. It just became like a minhag that women don't like to make kiddush. I think maybe it comes from the influence of Havdalah. So a lot of women make a mistake. I don't want to discuss Havdalah because we're not up to that yet. They make the mistake thinking that there's like something heebie-jeebie about women drinking the wine from Havdalah. It is brought down like that, but that's not halacha. The reason why women are not supposed to make Havdalah is because they may not necessarily be chayiv to make Havdalah, because like it's a time, like Hanukkah is a time-bound mitzvah. So is Havdalah, and Havdalah they may not be required to make. As you can say, so Kiddush is also. Kiddush is also time bound, yes, but there's a special pasuk that says anybody that has to keep Shabbos also has to make Kiddush. So that's what Kiddush is different. So all these things are technical. So, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with a woman making Kiddush for herself or making Kiddush for other women too. No problem. It's not the same as Havdalah. Havdalah, they should try and hear from a man. That being said, if for whatever reason a woman does not hear from a man, then they should make Havdalah themselves and drink the Havdalah. It's better that a man should make Havdalah for them who already made Havdalah. Okay, but Bez Hashem, we'll discuss that when we get to Havdalah. But that's basically it with Hanukkah. Now, once we're on the Hanukkah subject, a common question is, so one second, let me just answer some questions. Okay, what if you're nursing and you need to drink and it's past Shkia? So it's a shasatchak. If you really need the drink, then you could drink. Would I tell you that it's better to make Kiddush? It is better to make Kiddush. If you're really uncomfortable doing that, then I imagine wine is not the best. So if you're really uncomfortable with grape juice, what you should do, I would tell you to do, is make a coffee if you can, or tea, and have in mind that that's Kiddush. I don't know if you want to make Kiddush on that. Strike that. That's not a good idea. I don't know. That'll be too confusing. If you can't, you can rely on the opinions that say you can drink, but it's really better for you to make Kiddush. That would be the best thing. Take grape juice and just drink 3-4 ounces of grape juice, and then you could drink whatever you want. That would be the best. If not, and you can't do it, then yes, you could drink. So the rest of the Kiddush we'll discuss. So now getting back to Hanukkah. So the common question is that, not question, so part of the women being part of the inyan of women with the nace of Hanukkah is that they were makabel on themselves not to do malacha while the candles are being lit. The terminology used in Shulchan Aruch is that while the candles are lit, women don't do malacha, right? So, and this is only a minhag for women. There are some men that have that minhag, but it's for the most part a minhag for women. So now, if you go with what it says, that it's while the candles are lit, does that mean that some of these candles stay lit for 3 hours? So does that mean the woman doesn't do malacha for those 3 hours? For the woman's sake, I would tell you, if you can get away with that, then take it. Take it and run with it. If you can tell the whole family, I'm out, I'm not doing malacha for those 3 hours, then great. great if you can get away with it. However, that's not really what the Pais can say. The Pais can say that it's for the minimum amount of time that the menorah is supposed to be lit, which is a half hour. So that seems to be the minig for that half hour, which really, according to halacha, it's a halachic hour, so a half hour. So it's really 36 minutes, not 30 minutes. It's really 36 minutes that you shouldn't do malacha from when it's lit, from when the candles are lit, whatever time of the day you do it. Meaning if you lit the menorah at 5:30, so till 6:06. If you lit the menorah at 6 o'clock, and then 6 till 6:36, not supposed to do malacha. Now, what type of malacha cannot be done for that half hour? So it seems like women have the custom to just sit by the candles, which is a beautiful minig, but that's according to halacha, that's not necessary. According to halacha, and this comes up also a lot with running out to Hanukkah parties, according to halacha, nobody has to sit at the menorah at all. You could just light the menorah, look at it for a minute, and then you could be on your way. Whether you want to leave unsupervised candles lit in the house, that's up to you. But according to halacha, you do not have to sit. Not you, not the men, not the kids. You do not have to sit by the menorah. Is it a nice thing to do? 100%, but it's not required. So that's what some women have a minute to do. According to the halacha, the way the majority of the places can look at it, they look at it that you don't do malacha like chol hamoed, right? Which means that you're allowed to cook and you're allowed to bake and you're allowed to talk on the phone and you're allowed to text, etc., etc. All that's okay. Whatever you do on chol hamoed, that's what you're allowed to do. So what are you not allowed to do? So no laundry. You wouldn't be able to sew. I would say you can't mop. You can't, I don't know what else. Write, no writing with pens. That's basically what you should do. Treat it like chol hamoed. Although it seems like the minig is that many people have that you cannot cook. But I'm saying you're even allowed to cook on Yom Tov. So how could it be that lighting by Hanukkah is more strict than Yom Tov, right? Washing dishes would be allowed, because that's allowed on chol hamoed. So again, so basically, it's sort of like chol hamoed. So the basic major housework, stay away from. But if one is running late to cook supper, or wants to bake, to have a cake ready, then all that, according to halacha, is perfectly mutter. If you have that custom to sit by the candles and you want to, gesundheit, it's a beautiful thing. But you don't have to get stressed out that that's required. If you're running late, that type of thing, then you 100% can do whatever you need to do, just not the heavy housework. Okay. I think that would cover the basic halachas of Hanukkah. Okay, so now something about candle lighting. You're certainly not required to sing Zmiras, the Moaz Tzor, and all that. That's for sure not. Okay, now about candle lighting. Right. So now, candle lighting. I mean, not Hanukkah candle lighting. We'll get to something that pertains to both in a minute. But Shabbos candle lighting. In Shulchan Aruch it says you're supposed to use olive oil. The reason why you're supposed to use olive oil is because olive oil burnt better. Nowadays, that wax light's pretty good. That's why it seems that the majority of Klal Yisrael is using wax candles. Yes, there are segulas to use olive oil, and there's an inyan to use olive oil. But nowadays, that the wax candles light better, so then that's what you can use wax candles, and it's no problem. Paraffin is also, if you like that, that's fine. That's not olive oil though. The truth is, for Hanukkah would be the same thing. Hanukkah would be the same thing. If you think that wax candles are going to light better, then you can light with wax candles. The only thing with Hanukkah is that we use olive oil as a commemoration of the nace that happened. So that's why many just choose to use olive oil. where there's some confusion with women lighting candles is that what makes Shabbos, the bracha or the lighting of the candles, right? There's a big difference, right? Meaning what we do, the way we light candles, at least the way women light candles, is they light all the candles, then they make the bracha, right? So many women think that once they lit the candles, and let's say you're lighting with a match, then you can't extinguish the match because it's Shabbos already, right? Because since you were Makabel Shabbos, you accepted Shabbos when you lit the candles. That is not the case according to the majority of Poskim, if not all Poskim. That your Kabbalah Shabbos happens with the bracha, not with the lighting. So therefore, you can blow out the match or the candle that you're using to light the candles. Right? There are those that have a minute to put down the candle, or put down the match, and to not extinguish it. It's really according to halacha not necessary. If that's your custom, then find out where that custom came from. If it came from a misunderstanding of halacha that you learned in high school or in seminary, then you don't have to do it anymore. If your custom is to do that, then continue your custom. But really, again, just to be clear, is that the Kabbalah Shabbos happens when you make the bracha, not when you light the candles. So therefore, you could put out the candle that you're using to light your candles. Okay. You're not supposed to. You're not. Can you? No, you cannot delay the bracha. You cannot delay the bracha at all after lighting the candles, because really, we know that the halacha is that you're supposed to make a bracha before, right? We make a bracha before we eat. We make a bracha before doing mitzvahs, not after. The reason why we buy candles, the reason why we make the bracha after is because since the bracha is Kabbalah Shabbos, so then you can't make the bracha and then light the candles. So we have no choice. So therefore, we light the candles and then we make the bracha. But you can't delay making the bracha until later. On Yom Tif, there's different customs. On Yom Tif, since you are allowed to light candles on Yom Tif, many have the minhag to make the bracha the way it should be and then light. But many have the custom to do it the same way they do it on a regular Shabbos. So therefore you you do whatever your minhag is on Yom Tif, but again, you have to make the bracha immediately after lighting the candles. What's the Indian not to blow out a candle? It's the Indian basically is that a ner, like when somebody passes away or on a yard site, so you light, or on when we're saying Yizkor, so people light candles. That's because the ner, it's the pasuk says ner neshama. So the ner is like a representation of a neshama. So you don't want to blow out. You don't want to blow out neshama. Putting out a neshama, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is, but probably it just came from put down the candle and let it go out by itself. So, but you don't want to be the one actively blowing out the candle. But it's more Kabbalistic, so you don't have to really worry about that. Can you switch the lighter to off? Yes, after lighting the candles, yes, you could do that, because you didn't accept Shabbos until you make the bracha. Once you make the bracha, then that's it. Then Shabbos is already started for you. So then you're out. So now something that does come up, I should have really taken a few candles to use an example to make it clear. But let's say you're lighting a few candles, right? Let's say 2 candles. So you're lighting 2 candles for Shabbos, and you light one candle. You have your match, let's say, and you light one candle, and then the match goes out, right? So now you have to light the other candle. That candle that you lit has kedusha. So therefore, if you need to light the other candle, so what you do is you should take that candle that was already lit for Shabbos and take it and light the other candle, because that candle also has kedusha, right? But to take a match and to light the match from that candle that you already lit, that match has no kedusha. That match you're just using to light your other candle. So therefore, you should not take a match and light it from that existing Shabbos candle, because again, and the same thing with oil, right? Again, you're lighting two candles for Shabbos. You light one candle, and then your match goes out. So now you need to light the other candle. So the initial reaction is to take another match, and instead of lighting it on the matchbook, right, what you do, I don't know if people use matchbooks anymore, but you stick it into the existing candle. That candle is Kedusha. To go take and light a match from that candle is not preferable, because that match doesn't have Kedusha. So you just took something that doesn't have Kedusha and you lit it from something that has Kedusha. Now, ultimately, it's not a problem because you're using it to go light another candle from that has Kedusha. But the better thing to do would be to lift up the candle and light the other candle directly from it and then put it down, right? Because that's going from one Kedusha to another Kedusha. Yes, you can just strike another match. That's not a problem because, again, it's not Shabbos for you. Shabbos starts only once you make the bracha. But again, the point is that there is Kedusha to the Shabbos candles, and you don't want to light anything mundane, right? If somebody comes in and needs to light, like you could in the old days, you could have used this example. Somebody comes in and needs to light a cigarette, right? Which is a whole different schmooze, whether that should be or not be. Let's say somebody comes in and needs to light a cigarette, and they cannot light a cigarette from your Shabbos candles because the cigarette certainly has no Kedusha. If anything, it has Tuma, but it certainly doesn't have Kedusha. So you can't light anything mundane from there, right? So again, don't try not to use a match to light it from there. If you did, it's fine because that match is being lit in order to make Kedusha, but you don't want to do that l'chatchila. And that's the same thing on the Hanukkah menorah, right? If you notice that let's go with eighth night, so you're lighting a lot of candles. So what could happen is that the shamash sometimes goes out. The shamash meaning the one that you're using to light all the candles, that goes out. So what's your initial reaction? Just stick it into the closest available light to light the shamash. That's not great because the shamash has no kedusha. So you should really light the shamash either from a match or from another existing fire that's not the shamash. Again, this is all l'chatchila. Don't stress out about it and don't make a big deal because ultimately, again, you're using the shamash as a vehicle in order to light another mitzvah. So therefore, it's okay. So again, those are similar cases of between Hanukkah and lighting the Shabbos candles that they all have some sort of kedusha to it. So on Yom Tif, somebody's asking on Yom Tif. So many have a custom on Yom Tif. I don't know many. Some have a custom on Yom Tif to only light two. But I think most light the regular amount of candles on Yom Tif. Now, the reason why Yom Tif is different because you can't just light fires on Yom Tif. You can only light fires on Yom Tif that are necessary. So 2 candles you light, let's say you light 4 candles or 10 candles, or whatever it is. The question is it really adding light? So if it's not really adding light, then you really shouldn't light it on Yom Tov. That's where that custom comes from. So you do whichever, that's based on custom. You could light as many as you want, or you can just light 2. Whether you should light Yom Tov candles at the regular time or not is also dependent on custom. Some people do light it at the regular time, and some people light it later. Fine. So that's, I think we're out of time already. So if anybody has any questions, please post them now. Let's just review what we discussed tonight just to make sure we have it clear. So davening mincha was already from last week. Drinking after candle lighting before kiddush. So we said after candle lighting until shkia is if you need, you're allowed to a little water for medicine is allowed. If you need to take a drink because you're weak, then you're allowed to up until shkia. That's no problem. There's a minority opinion that says that drinking after shkia is okay, but you really should not rely on that you should make kiddush. When you make kiddush, it should be kiddush b'makom suda. Oh, this I forgot to mention before. Washing out the mouth is okay. Brushing teeth, well, if it's Shabbos for you, then most don't use toothbrushes. That'll be a different subject. But you want to wash out the mouth, that's okay. If you want to taste wine, I don't know why you'd be the one tasting wine, but if you need to taste wine to see if it's good, you're allowed to taste the wine too. You could also make a tanai that if you know you're going to drink when you light the candles, that you're not being makabel Shabbos. And so that was basically that. We said that women are required to light the menorah. Therefore, there should be no eating meals before the menorah is lit. If there's somebody lighting on your behalf, then that's okay. Then you could eat regularly. If you have to light later, then make sure you appoint a shomer to remind you to light. If you're not, then using an alarm on your phone is okay. The suggestion is to put multiple alarms on your phone so you don't forget. Malacha, most pies can say that the malacha that women are noig not to do after the candles are lit is for about, we said 36 minutes, and it should be like cholamayid. So really cooking and baking is allowed. It just shouldn't be sewing, laundry, writing, these type of things should not be done. If it's your custom to sit by the candles for a half hour, not do malacha, that's also fine. But really, the main thing that comes up is usually cooking or frying on Hanukkah. That's really where that comes from, because of the oil. So that would be okay. All right, let me see some more questions here. Let's see. Oh, so that's a good question. Somebody's asking. When people are traveling, usually the minhag is that you light. Even if you have a minhag to light more than one candle, most people's minhag when they go away is to only light 2 candles, which is fine. Does the minhag of lighting go from mother to daughter or from the husband's family? Really, hanhagas are supposed to go with the husband's family, but it seems like it's accepted, and in Klal Yisrael it goes from mother to daughter. And my family, the custom in my wife's family is for the girls after the age of bas mitzvah to light candles. My family minhag is not to. My daughters do light candles because that was their minhag of their mother, the grandmother. I don't know where exactly the minhag started from, but so it seems like most go with a from the mother to mother. Actually, excuse me. I posted on Friday on the chat this thing about really you can light with wax, and somebody told me that Rabbi Kanievsky used to light two with oil, and then the rest with wax. And Rabbi Elyashiv, who was her mother, did the same. So it was interesting. It seems like Reb Chaim Kanievsky and Rabbi Elyashiv, they went with. It could be they both had that minhag, so it's not a proof that the minhag goes with the woman over the man. But it seems like in Klal Yisrael the minhag goes, since it's the woman's mitzvah, so the women goes from the mother's side. But either way is fine. So you can't use the wick. You're lighting oil to light the next candle because the oil will spill. So that's not, if you're using oil, it's not going to be so simple to do that. So the best thing to do would be to light another match and light the other candles. Unless you had a tweezer and you pulled out the wick, and it's a long wick, but that's probably not practical. So the best thing would be is to just light a different match. But again, this is a chumrah. So if you can't do it, then you're allowed to light from the fire that you have. So that's that. Also, and somebody's asking Kiddush Makam Suda if everybody heard Kiddush at Shul, should you say Kiddush again? It's not required, but it's better to make Kiddush before the Suda. We're going to discuss Be'ez Hashem. Well, so next week because of Hanukkah party, so there's no shir. So we're having a week off next week, so we won't discuss it. But the week after that, as Hashem, we'll discuss women eating before the meal without kiddush during the day, which comes up a lot, right? That's a very important subject. So as Hashem, we'll discuss that. Yeah, and so that's basically it. So again, I think we're done with the Friday night halachas of lighting candles. We're not done with Friday night because we still have to discuss. Bez Hashem, we have to discuss how to take cholent Friday night, how to make a tea, especially on these long winter Friday nights. How to make a tea, how to take cholent, what you can put in the soup, what you can't put into the soup. Bez Hashem, we'll get to that too, but just want to get all the kiddush subjects out. So hopefully in 2 weeks from now we'll discuss the eating before kiddush on Shabbos morning, etc. Okay, everybody should have a lichting in Hanukkah and a good tvach, and should hear only Sudas Tovas. Thank you for listening. Have a good night.